This is Education Matters. I'm your talk show host, Mr. Kamombogwa, and I'm happy to have you. I have on set my guest, Mr. Dickson Muli. Most welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think Mr. Dickson Muli is the director of Muli Children's Home. So the director of his own company, Synergy Limited, plus others. Mr. Muli, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here today. As you've said, I work as the director in charge of sustainability and procurement in Muli Children's Family.
Yes.
MCF, in a nutshell, is an organization that takes care of children who are abandoned and abused and gives them a home, education, and medical care. And my responsibility is agriculture to sustain the projects. Also, the founder and CEO of Synergy Solutions Kenya Limited, which deals with real estate and construction, and also have a small startup called D&T that deals with software development.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
On this show for now, I want us to look at two areas, curriculum development and the role of ICT in education. Maybe I would like to hear about your background experience in education. I know you have gone out and read books. Tell us a little bit about your exposure in education.
I've studied, I have a degree in computer science. I've also done some courses, postgraduate in Harvard University for finance, Oxford University in social entrepreneurship. I'm also a certified development project manager. And I've done some in agriculture, amongst other things, and currently I'm doing a master's in London School of Business and Finance. And so I have a lot of passion. But for me, education is not really what I learn in the classroom. Education is from my day-to-day interaction with people, from the books I read, from life itself. And to me, education is a holistic approach and not just the formal system that we use.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
You have just mentioned Harvard University. That means you have been outside there.
I've been...
And we're talking today when we have a new president in waiting.
I don't think I'll comment about Donald Trump,
Yes.
but I just have had an opportunity to be exposed and to study, and also to interact with people within and outside the country for work matters. And for me, I count it as a blessing because opportunities come from God. I am a Christian and I believe that. So everything that I have learned over the years, to me, is geared towards supporting other people and helping other people realize their dreams, be it in the workplace or even in charity. Because it doesn't have to be helping someone. Helping someone may be educating them about something. So we are stewards of God's resources. Be they knowledge, be it finances, be it food, we are stewards.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's go to the business of the day, curriculum.
Yes.
There's a talk in there that we need to reform our curriculum. The government has already initiated a project. And I want you to comment on that. Why do we need to reform our curriculum?
Personally, I think the curriculum in Kenya, especially the quote-unquote new education that has been there since 2004, somewhere there, I don't remember very well, has been geared towards theory. And even for many years. In the 90s, you'll find people in JKUAT who are very experienced. Kenya was partnering, JKUAT was partnering with Japan. And there was a lot of practical knowledge. And you would have places like the University of Nairobi, they made a car. I remember back then, and people are very proud of that. But right now, education is geared to theory. And when you have a lot of theory, then you have students who cannot perform. They are good at speaking, but it's just like the Bible.
Very good letters.
They write very good letters. They are serious. But when you bring them to work, even in our place of work, be it in agriculture or real estate, then you have to train them. You take even a year training someone because what was taught to them on paper, first of all, some things are obsolete. You find someone is reading a book that is not current knowledge, say in sciences, knowledge that is from the 90s or early 2000s. Technology changes.
Sure, can you blame the students for that? Then I think that they move somewhere else because there are several actors in the education system. If a student comes to me and I give him obsolete knowledge, he will not know the difference between the current one and the obsolete one.
You see, it's a two-way system. Of course, the government is the custodian of the systems in a country, including the education system. So, of course, there's an issue with that, and I think the government has been talking about changing the system, but also the society, because education is not just in the classroom, it's also outside. So, also parents have a responsibility to teach children and complement what is not taught. From simple things, let me give you a very simple thing that is nothing technical. When I was in class 5, we were taught how to send a telegram and how to pick a phone. Hello, Dickson, please may I help you? Common courtesy. These things are not there. So it's not even just about the knowledge. It's even about courtesy. It's even about how you relate to other people. So all these things that were taken away from the system, to me, there are some things that are very important. I'll give you a good example. Art and craft, it helped me develop the desire that I have in real estate. In class 8, I made a table. Home science, I would be able to sew. I got that responsibility of taking care of myself. And even now that I'm in real estate, it's hard for someone to...
Now you're almost bringing back the nostalgic 844 days. In the heydays of 844 when it was coming in, they promised self-reliance. And it's the same thing that you're now saying you have to do every day.
You see, 844, what people, in my opinion, don't understand, even if you have 724, whatever you have, it's the content. You can say someone to stay in primary for 6 years and high school for 10 years, but if the content is not good, then you're wasting time, cutting it or making it longer. So, well, I appreciate that there is that effort, and I commend the government for that. The truth is the content is what matters. So you may have someone staying for 30 years, but then the content is not good enough.
That's why the government, in this bid to have the curriculum reform, they bring in a new concept. They talk about two key things. One is the competence-based education. That's one. The other one is value-based education. Comment on that.
What I personally believe with the content of value addition and everything, it is good on paper, but implementation is everything. I'll give you an example. In Germany, when someone gets to an equivalent of Form 2 and they do not want to go on with that quote-unquote formal education, they are able to go to technical engineering. You have pilots who walifika an equivalent of Form 2, but then they had 4 years of engineering training and they become aeronautical engineers. I know people who have worked with BMW since the age of 17, because what happened is that once they got to that place in school, they were given that opportunity to work in the industrialized...
and learn.
Yes, they learn. So you find that no matter how good things are, if people do not have the practical knowledge, if our industry, first of all, we have issues with the industry. We're not an industrialized nation. We keep on saying that. But if we cannot be industrialized, which is a topic for another day, we cannot create employment, we cannot create cheaper goods. But like what happens in US, MIT and Microsoft. We should have University of Nairobi, and I will not mention a company, but X company in Kenya that does manufacturing. Then we have this synergy whereby people come together and do this. And internships in Kenya is different from what you have in Japan and the rest. There you have someone goes to do the practicals more than the theory. Here it's the other way around.
Can you do the theory for a longer period of time then?
In 4 years, we only have 3 months of practicals. That is very substantial.
So then if we have to reform them, we reform from what we have now to what? According to?
In my opinion, I keep on saying, the point of the matter is the bottom line should be more practical, less theory. How many times do you have to learn that when you switch on and code a computer, it does ABCD? If you're doing hardware engineering, yes, understand the architecture of the computer. I've done hardware. Yes. When I did that, for the first 1 month, 2 months, I had gotten it. So why do I do it for a full year? It's because the system says so. But if I had gotten an internship somewhere with an industry in Kenya that deals with that, which maybe they're not there, then I'll be able to make my own motherboard and make my own computer. So it's not really the universities that are at fault or the high schools. It's the system itself, and the government should work towards gearing people to practical education. Yes.
Now the question is this: are we ready for that change? Is the student ready? Is the teacher ready? Is the general public ready for it? Or are we going to run into another problem, what we call the inertia problem? We have decided the time to change has come, but we're not ready for the change. So we start kind of backpedaling.
Change is never easy, it's inevitable. And the truth of the matter is what we call training of the trainers.
Yes.
So the very first thing is not to change the system. The very first thing is to train the teachers on the new system.
Yes.
The other thing is to train the stakeholders in the industry on how to adapt a system whereby they have more more practical internship with students. So this may take a year or a year and a half to have this. Then as you implement it, the people who are actually teaching the children have bought into it and have given their suggestions. So what I believe it can work, but it is the implementation. The truth of the matter, let me give an example. If today Kenya was to say, do not drive on the left side of the road, drive on the right side, it's not wrong. Because America and the rest do that. But it will take time, so they have to be taught in the driving school.
There will be a paradigm shift, a big one.
Yes, sasa lazima mfunze driving school, they will apply. All I'm saying is if the teachers and the administrators are not involved, then it is difficult to implement it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we have to really get it done, and somehow we have to wean ourselves out of the system.
It's the people who can do that. If parents and people, when we complain, but we're not doing anything about it, doing something about it is first of all petitioning. The truth of the matter, even when I go to the politics, the politics of industrialized and fast-world nations is about policy. You call your representative or your MP and you can tell them this thing is ABCD, we want this. So also we do not hold our politicians accountable, because you have to ask your politicians, if this thing is happening, how can you help us, how can you pass this law? So also, it depends on the political will and also the people talking to their representatives.
You're giving me ideas, and you're making me imagine that now that we have some 27 in the offing, then I think we should need to connect between the political manifestos and the curriculum of both the incumbents and the aspirants.
You see, no, it is true. It is true, because when you hold them accountable, then they can deliver. The problem, and again, it's not really the topic for today, but politics in our country is based on loyalty of perhaps the tribe or party, and not really policy. If today you can ask a supporter of, say, the government, opposition, or whatever, what is in the manifesto?
What they have to say about it?
What is their policy on education? I highly doubt. Okay, maybe there are people who wrote it, but the common Mwananchi might not know. They might vote for X or Y, but they do not understand. So
they don't put any weight.
The issue starts with us.
Yes.
We complain, but we do nothing about it.
Well, now that's good. We have to take a short commercial break, I think, at this particular point. When we come back, we'll be talking about the role of ICT in learning. Viewer, don't go away. We're taking a short break. We're coming back. Keep watching. Watch and learn. Welcome back. This is Education Matters with my guest, Mr. Dickson Muli. Mr. Muli, we are now want us to look at e-learning, the place of e-learning, and I have one simple question. We are going digital. What are the advantages and opportunities of going digital? In other words, e-learning in as far as teaching is concerned.
For me, the best answer to that question is a story today I learned from the director of a Muli TV Gen, of a student who called and got an A-. And they've been educated by Muli TV. So it's all, there's not much to talk about because accessibility of education in remote places is very hard.
Yes.
In the slums, I've dealt due to my interaction with people in the slum. One, some students cannot afford school fees, or even if they do, their school does not have the facilities. There is no remedial, or even the teachers, some of them miss because of different reasons. When we have an education system that also reflects a certain way of teaching students through e-learning, what we do, we give the students, one, the ability to keep on repeating the thing and redoing it, get a different perspective of the same subject from what they get in school, but even more, getting access to education in places they do not. So people might say, okay, Turkana ni mbali, watu wataelewa computer. The truth is, if they understood simple technology, Elimu would be streaming there. And these students will not, they are nomads. Yeah. So if today watatoka Kichogyo, I don't know. No, they get from someone is in Marsabit. The truth of the matter, even that nomad tribe, they've been doing that in the educational sector. They are covered in a way. Now, of course, they are more dynamic, but they are covered in a way because if they move from one place to another, they still can access education. Correct. So I think it's very vital and it's very important. But
considering your background in ICT and your exposure, also with maybe the first one also in there, where did you get started? Because I think, in my opinion, e-learning comes in very different dimensions. There is a hardware part, the classroom and the software, there is the content, there is the services, the broadband internet connection. Where do you start with them to ensure that you don't get overwhelmed?
You see, the answer to that question is tied to the question we had asked before the commercial break. We cannot provide our students with cheap electronic material because we don't manufacture them.
Yes.
All right. So if a technical university in Kenya was doing production of laptops or the tablets, then you find that something that you're buying for 10,000, you buy it for 3 or 4, 5,000.
Yes.
If you buy it for that, then it's something sustainable. So basically, it is tied to our own production and industrialization based on the education system. But when we come from that, you also find that it's an interconnected system. In ICT or in computer science, of course, there's the hardware, there's the software, there's networking. Hardware, computer, software, the application, network, connectivity. So if people have the hardware but they do not have the software, if they have the hardware and software, they do not have the network, or they might even have the network but the service provider is charging and they cannot maintain.
They cannot afford. Long term.
Yeah. So and that's why when I'll take you to our basic thing. People say the basic needs, it's food, clothing, shelter.
Yes.
They're all basic, they're all important, they're like a pyramid. You cannot do without the other. So you cannot do without the software, the network, and the hardware. So as people develop policy, as the government makes the policy, then they should think about the triangle of implementing e-learning, which is the hardware, the software, and the network.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm also aware that you did mention a few minutes ago about obsolescence of content. Will this one help? Because I think you're trying to look in at the employability and you're saying that even some of the content which is being taught at the university is not very relevant.
There is a gentleman by the name of Yeko, who's a world champion in javelin. The guy taught himself using YouTube. As in, he will go, throw this meter, do this, do that angle, do this exercise. If that guy can win all these Olympic things and world championships, what does that tell you about?
By teaching himself only.
And then how come, not in a bad way, how come there is no student in the normal education system who's gotten there?
Who has?
Why? Because even in sports is education. Unapeleka watoto sports, kuna ile ya kucheza kwa wadogo. But unapeleka wana wakimbieni wa kiwanja, fanyeni kama unajua. But there is no also empowerment of the teachers. Getting a sports scientist teacher to teach in these big schools like Bremen. But you will not get. So there is no talent development. So when this Yego accesses the internet, they can get world-class education
from the farthest end of the world.
And go to the Olympics. I mean, that is a clear case. Absolutely. So those are the questions we should ask ourselves. If people do not believe e-learning works, ask Yego.
It works.
It works.
Now, then there is the issue of the costability of content. As you're putting it, Diego is learning from the first one, the content is coming from us and there. how long will it take for us to have our own domestic content? So now, when this child goes online, or the teacher goes online, he finds resource material synchronized with what is being taught according to the curriculum of Kenya.
There is a saying that says you can only keep what you give. And Kenyans, we must teach ourselves to have a end of giving. In school, I remember there's some people who could not teach you mathematics, and it was not mutually exclusive if you passed or failed. But then people were just hoarding information.
They are selfish. The kind of guys who do it like this.
It's called,
yes.
That is poverty of the mind. Because if you develop an idea, you build a stronger Kenya.
Yes.
If you're good at X, I'm good at Y, then why can't I be the engineer and you the lawyer and you defend me? And that's why I call it a company synergy. Working together, doing something. The truth of the matter, at the end of the day, we have to have a culture of sharing. Well, those things that are in YouTube, most of them are free.
Yes.
Most of them are free. So you find this YouTube advert that is there that is sponsoring an event. But the guy is a professor, the guy is a sports scientist. Go even Google Usain Bolt. He'll show you how you should run. What does he have to lose if you become a good person? So also our culture of poverty of the mind.
The scarcity mentality.
It's scarcity. I think if I empower Kamau, I will fail.
Yes.
No. If I empower you, we will succeed because your success is my success. We are intertwined in our society.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now that brings me again to still as far as ICT is concerned, e-learning is concerned, the place of social media. Social media is becoming the media. How do we tap it to become an enhancer of education rather than an impediment?
The most of people when they hear social media, they only think of Facebook and Twitter. But they're there. There's TED Talks if you go online. In fact, there's so much information. You go to TED Talks, subscribe, you get all these things. There's so many, there's e-learning. Actually, let me tell you one thing. There are free lectures from Oxford University online. They teach you about specific things that are general. But then I love reading all these things because they teach you. So for me, all I'm saying is that it's a platform. The same way Facebook created a platform for friends to connect, LinkedIn for professionals, Twitter for people speaking, Instagram for sharing, then there should be a good educational platform, and they're there, but then they should be exposed. And maybe Kenyans should come up with one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because again, as far as social media is concerned, now as we are talking now, the kids are out for holiday, and I'm very sure some have the access to their parents' smartphones. In fact, even some kids have their own smartphones. They have the laptops. Some of them have laptops in the house. They have Wi-Fi in the house. I'm looking at it from the end of, since these learners, both pupils and students, are at home now and they have access to them, have we got to the point where we can safely assume that they're actually learning, they're not distracting themselves in a negative way. By the time they go back to school next year, they will be in the learning mode.
Parents are the only people who would fail or who would make their kids succeed.
Yes.
I like giving an example because it's easier to talk about things I know. I remember there was a program we used to be quote unquote forced to watch. It was called Kiswahili Kitukuze. I was poor in Swahili.
It was a very nice program, by the way. I
used to tell you Kaeni chini. You should be washing dishes na mnasikia Kiswahili Kitukuze na mtasoma. Alafu kulikuwa debate. This is KBC back in the day.
Yes.
The point is, social media is not any different because people say, "Oh, we cannot control." You can block. You can block certain sites. You can look at the search history. There's things you can.
You can endorse.
So,
you can endorse some and condemn others.
Exactly. So what you can do, you can just set up and open certain like Facebook from this hour to this hour. It's very simple. And at this time there is accountability. Then come back and check. So it's about us as parents just being more involved.
Wow.
Yes.
We are taking another short commercial break. I think I'm liking the conversation. We are taking a short commercial break. When you come back, we will now look at the MCF. Don't go away. Keep watching. Welcome back. This is Education Matters with my guest, Mr. Dickson Muli, and I like the conversation so far. I want us to switch a little bit now, and I would like to hear a lot. I've learned, and I really admire the Muli Children's Home, or Muli Children's Family. I've learned about it, and I'm privileged to have you.
Thank you.
And you are both a product and now almost the director of it. Tell us as much as you can about the Muli Children's Family.
Thank you. Muli Children's Family was founded by Dr. Charles and Mama Esther Muli in the year 1989. I am the 8th born in the family, and I hold a department, not the entire. I'm in charge of sustainability and procurement, but we have different directors for finance, operations, and of course under the leadership of Dr. Muli. And to understand, to appreciate Muli Children's Family, you have to understand the story of Charles Muli.
Your father?
Yes, my dad, who was abandoned by the age of 6. And when he was abandoned by his parents, he was forced to fend for himself. He went through so much suffering. At the age of 16, he tried to commit suicide. But luckily, someone saw him and invited him to a Christian meeting, and he got to know the Lord through that. And he prayed to God, and God gave him an opportunity in life. But then life, of course, did not become easy.
Yes.
So due to the poverty, he walked all the way from Ukambani all the way to Nairobi for 3 days.
For 3 days?
No food, nothing. And he was begging on the road, but think about it, this is in the 60s. It's not right now that they do cars and all these things. It was just, out there, out in the open. And so when he came, he got to a place and he knocked the door. An Asian lady opened, an Indian lady opened. He asked to be given work, and be paid through food. No salary.
He was not interested in money.
Chakula. Chakula na maji nikufanyie kazi.
That was bad.
So
That was tough.
it was very tough. But the thing is, he had a vision in him. And as he was there, he worked very hard. And at the same time, he started doing correspondence. And anatuma barua, kulikuwa na magazines zamani, anatuma barua kwa college, and he got an accounting a diploma through correspondence. But at the same time, he's up much, he's slashing. But then the lady saw him being very hardworking and talked to the husband, who was a director in Kakuzi Farm. So Mzee was given an opportunity to work there as a clerk in the store, and in a few years he became the assistant manager in the farm. But he had a dream, an entrepreneurial dream, and on what he did, he saved up money, bought a car, started a taxi. And with time, God blessed him. He had a fleet of buses. He started an insurance company. He started a security company. This is way before. This is in the 80s and
1980s.
This is from he got into serious business from 1972 all the way to 1988. And he was also the sole distributor of total gas products and lubricants in half of Kenya. So God was faithful. But one day his car got stolen by street children, and God reminded him, because he started thinking, he went, parked his car at Nyayo House, he was going to renew a TLB, kutoka akapata gari ya yuko, akauliza watoto gari iko wapi, wakamwambia haukutulipa tukuchukulie gari. But he got thinking, these kids are like me. I was there. I might have been not the same thing, but I went through the problems. I went through abandonment, and he struggled with God. And in 1989, he decided to sell everything, all his businesses, his cars, everything, and start ministry and serving the poor and unfortunate children. And he started bringing three children. He brought 3 street children home. And it was a difficult moment.
So now he has done away his own business. He has sold
everything.
He has sold all of it.
Everything he sold, and he brought them home.
That must have been very drastic.
It was crazy. It was very crazy because it was all I can say. It was very crazy. But
are you born by then?
I was born.
You are there.
I was born. In fact, once it started, I went to boarding school for 3 years because the priority of my parents changed. They really wanted to serve God, and the best way they could is by being closer to the children.
Yes.
And getting them to trust them. This is 89, 1992. There are not many, people who didn't have that culture of children homes. And street children, it's not like these days. It was difficult. They were gangsters. So my dad goes, gets them, and he was also even kicked out of church. We were kicked out of church. He was told you're bringing gangsters and prostitutes to church.
Wow.
Yeah? So even we was kicked out. We were kicked out of church.
Yes.
But he had a vision, and mom supported him. And he would go to the street. At times, Mzee would stay in the streets for even 3 days. He'd be there ministering and preaching, and he would sleep outside with them. People thought he was crazy. But he had that vision, and mom supported, we supported. Mom was cooking and washing the children, and he was managing the school. In the backyard, he built a school for them, ambao na wakaanza kusoma.
Give me a time. Which year is this to be established?
Now,
that's the school base.
The school it started in 1993.
Yes.
Because 89, 1991, 92, he was focusing on rehabilitation and changing and bringing them to the church. Then he thought to himself, I cannot afford to send them to school. The best is to have it within our own premises. Because once he tried to send children in school in 92, 91, they'll be chased away. So then when they were rejected, now what did he do? He was left with them, they're his children. So he had to think, and God opened his mind.
Why don't you start your own school?
Why don't you start your own school? So 89, 1991, 92, he was trying to send them to other schools. He didn't work. 93, he started the school. And when he started the school, the children learned. My elder sisters were part of the first teaching staff. We are 8 in our family. We am the last one. And he got different young people. And he himself was the headmaster.
What?
Yeah. And mom was cooking. And she was the nurse. And she was a matron.
Now that was then. And today we're talking about how many schools?
Right now, first of all, even not just the school, we have 2,500 children.
Who went through that?
Who are currently
under Muli Children's
Family. Under Muli Children's Family.
Yes. 2,000?
500. These are orphans, neglected children, abused children, child mothers, children below the age of 16 who have kids, either due to prostitution or rape and abuse, or just difficult choices of abandonment.
Yes.
So what Muli Children's Family does, the first core thing is rehabilitation and changing the entire person. And we change them now. Education is one of the most, but the very first thing is rehabilitation, guidance and counseling. When you bring them out from there, they're traumatized. Then from there, we give them medical care. We have dispensaries within the institutions. And when we do that, then now the schooling starts and we teach them. And do you know, in the year 1997, when the first team did the KCP, we in the special schools category, we ilikuwa zamani ilikuwa izinekama kwa gazeti kwa number 1. In the year 2000, the first Form 4 sat, and we were number 1 in Machakos County, and we were top 50 in the country. This is our street children.
Yes. Everybody is interested in the education part.
Yes.
Could you really narrow down to the 6 schools that Muli Children's Family is managing now?
Yes.
Where are they located and how are they doing?
So the schools are within, like I said, the homes. So we have an institution in Dalani, another in Yata. Those are Thika Garissa Highway.
Yes. That's Machakos County.
Yes, that's Machakos County.
Yes.
We have another one in Kilifi, a place called Vipingo.
Yes.
We have another one in Kitale in the slum. In fact, we go to the society. The one in Dalani is right in the rural area. The one in Kilifi is Vipingo, is a slum. We have another one in Kitale, a slum called Kipsongo. We have also another one that we started in Turkana.
You are coming up with another one in Turkana?
We're coming up. We are actually building a school there, but those children have been learning under trees for the last 3 years. So what MCF does, we don't wait to do the structures. We say God will provide.
Yes.
The content is what is important. We'll teach you. And right now, because we have graduates from Muli Children's Family, they form about 40% of the teaching staff.
Yes.
And that's how they get to give back to the community.
I would like to hear about the real shining cases of the kids that you are able to kind of snatch from the fire, so to speak, and who have been able to hit the highest optimal performance?
We have 12,000 graduates, so I don't know which one to choose.
12,000.
In the last 27 years, God has been very grateful. But there are many in different industries, and for me, success is not just being a CEO. We have CEOs of companies. We have people who are heads of NGOs, directors in NGOs. We have one who even started his own rehabilitation center in Ngong, and he has 150 children that he's changing. And he was a street boy. He was taking drugs. But after he changed, he went and MCF supported him until he did engineering. So he's a qualified engineer, but he got a calling. He said, Dad, I got a calling.
I will assist you. I will replicate for you.
I was taking alcohol, I was using cocaine, I was using banging, but you changed me, and God has a reason why. Yes. So we have a lot of success. We have one who is, we have doctors, we have over 4 doctors, and one of our graduates, in fact, is in charge of a hospital in Kiambu. We have people in Germany, we have 7 nurses who are working there. We have someone who is a manager in IBM in Australia.
In other words, you're saying through that education, you're able to impact and transform people.
Through holistic transformation. Through, of course, education is the key, but I'll keep on saying the best line is psychological. And that's why when I was talking about education, it's not just a formal, it's about understanding life. How do you live with people? How do you relate with people? That is education.
How do you become
someone? And then, of course, increasing now the formal education, which we talk about the 844 system, university, and other opportunities. So when you compare with that, we have 2 in Canada. So God is opening doors, but they are there because of God's grace and their ability to compete with other people in the world.
Tell me about the movement this time.
Now, you see, someone once came and they said, now I do not know how to help the world understand. So these guys were from Hollywood and they visited us. And when they came, they said the thing that we're going to do for MCF, the only support we can give is to capture this. And when we capture it,
show it. Put it
there.
Yes.
And they came, and for 1.5 years they were taking the movie. They made a feature film documentary, and it captures the life of Dr. Muli and Mama Esther and how the ministry started, and even what happened and where it is.
Yes.
It's an amazing. It's called Muli movie.
Yes.
You can find the trailer online in YouTube.
It's already there.
It's already there. It's won 7 awards. In US, Canada, it showed in South Africa, Nigeria.
So when is the full thing coming out?
Now that's the thing. It's been out for 1 year, but then next year it will be launched in Kenya. So it goes step by step. The distribution, how it happens before something gets also to Kenya because of the marketing that is done. So it started from Hollywood itself as it goes and spreads. And we're hoping that it will be launched in Kenya early next year.
Now we are running short of time. I want you to take this opportunity. Erimu TV is proud to have you on the show, and I'm giving you the airtime now to say something to encourage our viewer, let them know that really education can change their lives, and also Kenyans need to kind of build the capacity, remove that scarcity mentality that you're talking about. It's your time.
What I can talk about, what I can say is that if we are to change our nation, then we must start with the fundamentals. And what is fundamental is a strong base, education. And when I talk about education, again, I'll keep on saying it's not just the theory, it's the practical, it's the life skills, it's the culture that we teach our children. And when we do that, and again, move on towards practical education, whereby children are given internships in the university to spend more time in the industry rather than in theory, we become an industrialized nation. To give you an example, Germany is the only country that was annexed after the Second World War by the France and US and Russia and the rest, but it rose from the ashes, from an impoverished nation to become, in the 90s, the world's 3rd biggest economy. Japan is the only country that was nuked.
Yes.
But Japan rose from the ashes. Why? They invested in technology and industrialization. Same thing is what made America great. Same thing is what has made China great, manufacturing. So I think Africa, and Kenya in particular, must understand, yes, we need lawyers, yes, we need doctors, but we need manufacturing. And the second thing I can talk about is people coming together, that synergy of working together. If you support someone, support them and encourage them and teach them. Because our success is intertwined. It's like a basket. So even if you're a beautiful, beautiful person and you have this strength, and you're a very sharp person and you have this strength, I'm sure there's something you can learn from one another.
We can have
and then that's what we call synergy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry to cut you.
Thank you, no problem.
I think we'll do more of this.
Asante.
I think I very much appreciate you coming on my show.
Asante.
And I am sure my viewer is enlightened.
Thank you.
Would you like to give us the contacts for MCF, or maybe maybe just in case people want to catch up with you?
Yes, to know more about Muli Children's Family, you can Google it, www.mulichildrensfamily.org, and also to know more about Synergy Solutions Kenya Limited, you can Google us at www.sra.co.ke.
Thank you very much. On that note, we call it a day. Until next time, keep watching. It's Education Matters. Thank you.